Hey guys, Andy and Spoken Label. My friend, the fantastic Charlotte Faulconbridge. Now, people would have seen today, the podcast has been done the other way round today. This is down to Charlotte. It always is blame Charlotte, right? So now people are wondering, yeah, me and Charlotte met last year. It was under a year ago this was, and I can't believe how time flies because this was when now, to correct me if I'm right, this Charlotte, we weren't aware of each other, were we, before you did
No.
your set at OB Hive last year?
Yeah, first time I met you was my headline through
Yeah,
Beehive.
yeah, it was.
17th
It's
17th of
crazy.
November. 17th of November.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. It's nearly a year ago now. We're in back to November again. This is like nearly a year later, and then like we ended up doing Spoken Label back end of last year, and it was like, and this is the best bit. Tell me if you agree with this, Charlotte. When you have somebody on go on someone's podcast, if you don't know them, it's that getting to know each other first time, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's like imagine you're meeting someone for the first time, but it's being recorded, then put on the internet. And as an autistic person, that is just never going to go well. It's just like the
Yeah.
worst scenario. But
Oh,
we got through it. We got through it.
we got through it, and it's what was great about it. Honest to God, guys, we both will admit this. We've become really good friends, even though we've not met yet, and we will be next year. That's why. And since then, Charlotte's responsible for me getting two more friends as well, Emily and Courtney. Courtney has been on Spoken Label. Check her out, Courtney Ward. And Emily Huswick. I will get Emily on Spoken Label at some point. It might take me time in my 70s and she's in her 50s to manage it, but we will get there with it. So, but anyway, listen, this is about you today, Charlotte. We're here today for a reason, aren't we? So, but before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself, Jen, and first of all, where or did your creativity come from?
No, I hate that question. Tell me a bit about yourself. It's so open-ended. I'm like, do you want to know my eye color, my height, like where I went to school? It's like,
You told me all that anyway, but we're not going to repeat that on camera.
right. Um, but yes, I am an autistic and chronically ill poet, author, musician, and TEDx performer. And I've always been creative, but mainly with music because I think I mentioned last time before, because I was born completely mute, and part of the way I communicated to my family was through music because I realized very early on that it was very emotional and you could have pieces that were happy and sad, and so that's how my creativity came from, just this necessity to communicate. But then I think as I've grown up, I've then channeled that same creativity just into lots of different things like poetry. So that's again, poetry was a complete accident. I'm not even going to lie about that. But I think if you have that creative streak, you'll always apply it to different things. That's how I view it anyway. So
Same
it was
thing as well.
a happy accident. Yeah, happy accident.
I think it was really because when we got talking last year, you brought out your debut book, which was Too High to Function, which is a fantastic book in its own right.
And
But
that isn't poetry as well. Okay.
yeah, we need to state that first of all, this is not poetry. It has poems in it, but it's not poetry, right? So
There's a story about the poems in that as well, because again, I wrote that just because I wanted to share my experiences living with autism. And I discovered poetry about 2 months before that was supposed to be published and out in the world. But then I discovered poetry and I thought, I love this thing called poetry. I really want some of that in the book. So I worked really hard, never written poetry before. And I was like, right, how am I gonna work them into the book? And those who have the book and have read it will realize how I've done that. So it meant it pushed the release date back by a couple of months, but it was worth it to get those in. But everyone's saying, "Oh, you've been writing for ages because you got poems in the first book," and I was like, "That was a very last minute decision. I can tell you that for now. That was very last minute, and it threw everything up in the air." So
I
yeah,
mean, it's good.
chaos.
Creativity is chaos anyway. And I always believe it. Why state it's always good if things change last minute. Now, a couple of things, obviously, like I said before, to you, we got talking to your Beehive last year. Obviously, Clive Osman and that Nick Lovell. We're calling that Nick Lovell, right? Because you always, yeah. But I love them both, and I know you do, right? So, but what I'd forgotten was, before we go into your book, was that you'd actually wrote most of that set with them for that night, hadn't you, for that set completely?
I think I was so because I'd only been doing poetry for about 3 months, writing or performing it. Um, and I'd had my first headline feature that was very kindly offered to me by Ashley Ed and Kate Jenkinson. And I didn't feel ready, but I didn't want to say no because, that was the dream. I thought, well, I'm never going to headline an event again, probably. So I'm just going to say yes to this one. Um, And then, yeah, Clive booked me after that. And I thought, again, I had a lot of perceived ideas because I was very new to poetry and the poetry scene. I thought, oh, they've heard pretty much all the poems I have. I've got about a month to do another headline set, and they've heard everything that I've written. So I need to pull my finger out and do some work and write some more poems. So I kind of came up with the concept and what I'm going to do. And I'm just very lucky that it paid off and that it, is great. And it's gone down in kind of, Poetry Hall of Fame, what people tell me. That's not my words, by the way. That's not me being big-headed. People have told me that, not my words. So yeah, I think it was that striving because I'm very good. If you give me a goal, I'm very good at working towards that goal. So I just generally didn't have any poems to do, and I thought I need to put something really good together so people, remember me. Because as well, I'm really quiet, says the girl who's talking a million miles an hour, won't let Andy speak.
Oh, so when in doubt, blame me. Everybody always blames
I
me,
know,
right?
like I'm so quiet, so I thought people don't really know me. They're not going to know me in the poetry world because I don't put myself out there. I don't, I'm too socially anxious to message people all the time, speak up on Zoom at open mic nights. I need to do something that's going to cement me with these people so they know that I'm here and I'm here to stay. Um, so yeah, I think I did that.
Yeah, you did rather well with it, just put it nicely, right? So now, obviously, we talked about this briefly last time. I don't think it was out anyway. Well, you did a TED talk, didn't you? Was it just before or just after? I can't remember now.
It's just after, because
Yeah,
basically I did Beehive and that opened just so many doors for me. So that then gets uploaded onto Facebook. And the views for that are now in the thousands. That
well,
the reception for that.
it's really good that talk.
Yeah.
Well
And
worth, yeah.
someone then saw that and knew someone at a local TEDx event and put me forward basically. And yeah, I would never have done TEDx without doing Beehive, which is just crazy. And that was in the January. So from November doing Beehive to January doing TEDx, it's just this crazy roller coaster of how have I gone from one open
That,
mic that was really shaky, Beehive, then TEDx. It was like, ooh.
yeah.
So
People are wondering how I'm doing it. Zip, straight up
yeah,
on it, yeah. So now.
yeah.
Obviously, that said, there's a lot. We could be here for hours with Charlotte. We're like that, me and this young lady. But we have to mention, obviously, your festival you did with Levi Washington as well, didn't you, recently as well? Now, I've seen the video of that. You were brilliant appearing on stage in that one. And you want to tell people how big the audience was at this festival you were at?
Oh my God. It was again going from just doing stuff online to thousands of people in a field. It was intense to say the least. Funny enough, I'm seeing Levi today after this. Um, which is crazy coincidence. But yeah, it's really funny actually because we started the set and it just started trouncing it down. No one was there, right? My mum with an umbrella, one of my best mates, braved the field because it was raining. But then by the end of it, beautiful sunshine, and I was so focused on what I was doing, I didn't really look at any of the people because I was looking at a piano the whole time. And then I looked up and I was like, "Fucking hell, that's there are
Well,
people now because the sun's out." So I think it was quite nice that I started with no people because it was hammering it down. Then I wasn't that nervous, and then I looked up at the end and I was like, "Okay, that's people." So yeah, but it was intense. And I mean, played alongside great people. I mean, Richard Ashcroft, Beverly Knight, Flame of Faith, Sam Ryder. It was a brilliant opportunity. And yeah, and I must thank the BBC for that because they chose us for that. So yeah, it was on
I would have loved to have been there. I'll tell you that straight away. Apart from the
the
weather, disregarding the weather.
yeah, and everyone was like huddled under this one tree in the middle of this field, and so it was they could see from many meters away. But yeah, by the end, it's great. Everyone was out. But yeah, must thank the BBC stage who hosted us and asked us to perform. So that was brilliant. Really.
And the last thing I was going to touch, just a lot, we're doing a lot of little things here to be wonderful. We get onto the book, is now the time this goes out live, you would have done. Is this your second headline spot for OB Hive or more? Have you done more?
It is, yeah, I've done two, but there may be more on the way.
Oh,
By
dun,
the
dun,
time
dun.
by the time this comes out, I've not spoken about it to anyone else yet, but things are also there might be more than two when this comes out that I would have done.
Ooh.
So
But there is one that's happening. Obviously, this is going to be coming out in November. People look at the dates. This was recorded in October, and just after this recording, Charlotte is. What are you doing, Charlotte? So people can find this hopefully on YouTube.
yeah, I think it'll be on Clive's Facebook.
Yeah, as well.
I might, I'll see. But yeah, I've been asked back to do a music set this time for Beehive, which is great because it'll be sort of nearly exactly a year after, I did poetry for them. Well, and there may be more things coming, Beehive themed as well. But yeah, I'm doing a music set, and that's really special for me because, I posted some short videos online, but I don't think I've ever given anyone the full kind of overview of what I can do musically.
I've seen it. That's because I'm a friend, right? But yeah,
Yeah, you've seen some of the sound checks. You
yeah,
Andy's seen some of the sound checks.
yeah, they're brilliant.
Yeah, so I'm very excited because yeah, I've put so much work into that because again, I think if someone books me for an event, I spend months practicing for that event because or writing new material like I did for last year. Because yeah, it does mean a lot that I've got it's only 20 minutes, but for me that's like 2 months of prep. So yeah,
Yeah,
I've put in a lot for this. I strained my fingers for it. There was a whole like 2 weeks I couldn't practice because I started to get a cyst on my hand because
ouch.
I know because I was just one of my guitar pieces is quite percussive. So yeah, I've had some injuries in the rehearsing for this event. So hopefully it goes all right.
It will, right? When in doubt, just keep your mouth quiet if things don't go always to plan. It's my philosophy, right? So, and say, yeah, it was planned that way, even if it wasn't. So, definite. Right. We are here, however, really to talk about your debut poetry book, or yeah, I would call it debut full-length poetry book then, right?
Yeah.
After do High to Function, which did have some poems in, but isn't a poetry book. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, first of all, then, why the Roaring Twenties?
the Warring Twenties. Wow. Again, lots of things about this. So some deeper, some not so deep. Whatever order my brain comes up with them first is the order that I'll tell you. So my family, we actually live in a house that was built over 100 years ago now in the 20s. So it's a 1920s house. My mum is a massive Art Deco fan. And I've been quite mean to my mum over my poetry journey because she teaches performance poetry and acting. I get very anxious performing in front of her because I know she knows what to look for. And I know that I don't necessarily perform in the way that she teaches performance stuff. So I get very anxious performing in front of her. So I really wanted to do something that was a really lovely ode to my mum because she supports me all the way even though I mean I say she's not watched me perform. I went to talking to Beehive, I went to Beehive in person in Swindon last week by the time, when we're recording this in October. And I did let her watch me perform a poem there. So I'm definitely getting there with the confidence performing in front of my mum, but yeah, I care so much what she thinks because I really value her opinion. So it's nerve-wracking when, you want,
Yeah,
to be the best for your mum. So yeah, it's a way of really saying to her, look, this is my book. You can now, because she doesn't even get to see the poetry that I write just on a daily basis. So it's my way of saying, look, this isn't even just, a book with poems about you in it. This is 20s themed because you love, this era of time. And as well, because I'm mid-20s and I describe my mental health battles as this kind of ongoing war in my head. So I think the play on words with, the film The Roaring Twenties and, my play on words with the Warring, as in WARRING, it just meant for such a cohesive title, and really summed up to me the mental health aspect of the book as well. So, and
yeah,
anything with a pun, I'm a fan of. So yeah, lots of different sort of levels to that. But yeah.
yeah. I loved the actual cover as well. Mate. So tell us about the actual cover of the book and where the
Yeah.
design for this came from, because it's a wonderful cover.
Yeah, so this again, I'm the sort of person, as soon as I have an idea, I can see it 100% in my head. And on it is my mum's original, I can't remember what decade it is. I think it's 20s. Her original 1920s gramophone that she's got
Wow,
in her 1920s living room in our 1920s house.
wow, wow.
Um, So I knew that I wanted to feature that, and that is basically sort of representing me. And then I wanted my gran to draw. I wanted a bird, basically the beak of a bird, to be the needle of the gramophone. Um, and my middle name's Robin, so I thought if there's going to be a bird on it, it's got to be a
Quick
robin.
tweet, quick tweet.
So my gran drew me a little robin for the gramophone, and yeah, if you look closely, the beak of the robin is the needle, and then all the flowers and butterflies on the front. I put a massive call out on social media. I did it as like an open casting call. Um,
Whoops. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and I was like, poet, send me pictures of flowers, butterflies, because I'm going to use them for a project. No one knew what it was at the time. And then, release the cover. And yeah, basically all the flowers and butterflies on that cover come from poets around the world who've inspired me, who love my poetry, who listen to poetry. So it's a way of basically in my cover just saying, you guys are my voice. And I think that's just such a beautiful message because I also dedicate the book to poets and to my poets. So yeah, it
Brilliant.
meant a lot to have everyone's involvement on the front. So yeah, it's an ode to you guys being, this is my voice, this is what you've made me do, this is who you've made me into, and as well as a big nod to my family as well. So it means
Brilliant.
a lot to me to cover. Yeah.
Does it very personally it straight away. I've seen the press picture of you as well holding the book up, and is that a very 1920s sort of dress you're wearing there? Or am I imagining things?
You imagining that?
All right, just we'll move on
I
then. I wasn't sure if you were playing up on that one then, right?
No, but there will be, I'm sure there'll be plenty of me dressing up for press shots and stuff. That's
Uh,
that's all to that's all to come.
Sounds good to me then. We'll move on. I made a prat myself once now. We'll move on. Now, obviously, with the book itself, you told me already there's 4 sections in this book.
Yes.
Tell us about, shall I mention what the titles are and you tell us about what the theme is? The first one is Everything She Loves is Tragic.
I know
And
it's
you, oh,
you can't misquote the book, Andy.
out of me. Second cock up of
I'm
the day.
I'm gonna take over now. I'll do the titles. Can't
Yeah,
be
I would.
trusted. Can't be trusted. So
No,
the
typical
first
man.
one. So yeah, the first 3 sections are part of the main narrative of the book. The last section, a little bonus section I'll talk about later. But yeah, the first section is called Every Little Thing She Does Is Tragic. Obviously, a
Oh,
pun to the Police song
yeah.
Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. Um, but with tragic instead, because that seems more realistic for me. And the first chapter, because it is an overarch sort of my mental health journey throughout the book. And the first kind of section chapter are all the things that have led up to my 20s in terms of things that have happened within my family or social life or with my autism or chronic
Mm.
illness. So yeah, the first section leads you to then the second section, which is called Rhapsodies in Blue, which I named after my favorite piece by George Gershwin, written in 1924. Again, fit the theme. Um, and that I think I described that chapter as my life's jazz solo because again, it's just all the chaos starts. You've had the kind of pre-run when I didn't really understand what mental health was, didn't really know what how to ask for help, all of that. Then I'm in these sort of wilderness years, which yeah, I do like to do like to call my life's jazz solo. And yeah, you get that when you read it because it's a mix of performance pieces, page pieces. Yeah, it just sort of goes off the scale. And then my third section, stargazing for beginners rather. I describe those poems as like star charts for my heart, because they're all the kind of poems that I reread myself if I need a boost or a lift or even just to find a friend within a poem. They're all so that yeah, that third chapter's kind of all positive mental health poetry that I really wanted to end on. And then the fourth section called B-sides, as in, the B-side of a record, because the gramophone on the front. That's all ridiculous poetry that I've written, comedy poetry, some science poetry. I think a lot of people will guess, one of my main poems I did last year that kind of broke me out onto the scene, Nuclear Fuchsia, that's in there by request from my publisher. So yeah, there are some like quirky pieces in that section for sure that are some of my favourites, but didn't fit in the rest of the book. So I thought I'll call it B-sides, and then yeah, it matches the whole record, theme on the front as well. So yeah, that's a brief overview, I'd say. Well, not
Really.
not that briefly, was it? It was quite rambly.
Charlotte,
That was rambly.
you and brief. No,
Don't go
never.
together.
Don't go
No.
together. Definitely not with that one. So, but seriously, no, it's what made you want to do the book in four different sections like that?
Well, I think I like compartmentalizing things. So I didn't want to just put everything in one big sea of poetry because that'd mess with my head reading a book. But it was really difficult because
Hmm.
I really wanted those quirky poems in their own section. So I thought, but that's not going to work in the actual book. So I thought, okay, leave them as a little treat at the end. And then, yeah, just looking at, the themes that I do write about the most, it made sense to structure it like that, to have this kind of, I call the first chapter actually, because I've written sort of little explanations for all the sections. I call the first section like an uncoming of age because, we kind of go back in time from early 20s to childhood. So yeah, and then that obviously progresses on to my mid 20s, my sort of quarter life crisis that I'm
Yeah.
very much going through right now, and then out the other side, hopefully. Um, so yeah, fingers crossed,
Yeah,
fingers
fingers
crossed.
crossed, definite. Now, do you look back at this book now, obviously, because time podcast comes out, the book is out, and like I think it's quite a progressive leap. Two sides, really, obviously, from Too High to Function was obviously your autobiography, I guess, is it? And then, like, to obviously do your own Beehive set, then that, because you've gone from one extreme to another, really, haven't you? And do you think about it? It's like, it's fascinating. You look back at you. I always believe in your creativity, and I'm a bugger
Mm.
for this, never standing still. And do you find yourself like it's really gone so quickly for you, I suppose, hasn't it, really?
It really has, and again, completely different to my first book, but also even just completely different to when I first started writing poetry. I think I mentioned this in the performance section of the podcast. But, I first started writing poetry last year, really had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of went for what felt was right for me at the time. But yeah, even just my progression as a writer in this one year, I'm OCD, so everything had to rhyme, um, even if there wasn't a reason for it to rhyme. But now I've really learned to look past the actual letters and just actually focus on just the emotions of what I'm trying to get across. And that's been a lovely learning curve. And again, learning off poets at different events, and it's
Yeah.
like the best. It's like going to school, but in the best way possible, because you just get all this free knowledge, and it's like I just get to watch poetry. But if you watch in the right way, you just pick up everything. It's like doing, yeah, it's like being in an English lesson, but in a really good way, not in a not in a bad way. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with you. I agree with you. I think when you're doing a tickle like we've had the Zoom explosion really of since lockdown, I've learned a lot myself, and I always pride myself in learning because I see a lot of people, meet people like yourself, who like that do things in different ways, and I've learned a lot from it. And I've been writing 20 odd years now, 25 years. You do it's. I think if you do it the right way, you can really get some pleasure out of it.
yeah, and it's really funny because I've become great friends with so many people on the scene. And I noticed that when I've started becoming really good friends with Ashley Edge, my poetry stopped rhyming because they hardly rhyme in their poems. So it's very interesting the way that I've kind of, and that's why with the cover as well, I wanted all the flowers and butterflies to be from the poets making it my voice because I am inspired by so many different poets that are
Yeah.
around me. So I wanted that also to come through. So yeah, it's interesting how I've picked up lots of little things from everyone else.
I think you do, and you aren't realizing sometimes, particularly like it's like I've gone lots of readings of bits and pieces, not always to open mic ones or even straight ones, headlines, straight actual poetry, and you can pick up some cracking ones sometimes. You just sat there thinking, oh, why don't I try that in a poem? Why don't I try that story? It's constantly moving around, isn't it, really? So I think it's a development as a writer. And do you think, looking back at it now, the actual when you started your novel, to obviously Too High to Function, could you imagine yourself a couple of years later having a poetry book out?
No, because as soon as I did the first book, I said to my mum,
Mm,
I'm not doing that again. Because I just thought everyone's got at least one book in them, haven't they? But I don't, I
yeah,
think it takes more to have a couple. But then, as I said, I think, poetry it is different, and I described it in the reading section of the podcast as well. This book, because I write more in the moment. Um, for my page style poetry, it is like a photo album for me of the last
yeah,
24, 25 years.
yeah, agreed.
Whereas yeah, so it's given me the confidence now that I can do more than one book, which is nice
Cool.
because
Well,
yeah,
fingers crossed, right?
and even just this first one, I mean, I've already got nearly enough for a second one
Oh,
already.
yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
I know, it's just flowing out of me, Andy. Can't stop. Need to get a plumber. Can't turn the tap off.
Well,
So,
better get, I'm not going to say where we took the plunger then, right? 'Cause you'll punch me, right?
so yeah, it's just I know there'll be another one already, and this one's only just coming out. So,
Wow. You could. Okay. Is there any hint you want to give about the possible second book then?
oh, what the second is in the
Yeah.
one that I'm not
Yeah. No, the one that you're still working on. Yeah.
the one I'm still. Oh, wait. So the one
Second,
that
the second poetry book then,
second
right?
poetry. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like, do
Sorry.
I
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. My
first
fault.
poetry or second book? Second
Yeah.
poetry book. Um, no.
Oh,
That's
hard
the answer
sell.
to that.
See, look at
No.
that. See,
Hard
hard.
sell.
My gentle journalistic experience didn't succeed there, people. So she said no, and I'm not going to ask her.
No. Well, I'll tell you. I'll give. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a little bit. I think with my first poetry book, everything is very. I would describe the poems, even though they're about some traumatic, ugly experiences. I would still describe them as pretty pieces. You know, I spent a lot of time really crafting them in a way that I wanted them to come across. But I think the stuff that I'm writing currently for this next book, it's definitely ugly, but it's meant to be ugly. I think that's a good distinction. There will be some of the same, you know, kind of themes and stuff, but yeah, I'm definitely this first poetry book's given me a lot of confidence to, not necessarily have to dress stuff up. And I think that's again important because some stuff just needs to be told how it is.
Yeah, that's why. No, agreed. Agreed with you completely. Good luck with it. Now, okay, we'll look at the what's next section to wrap up with now. Before we do that, aren't you involved with Mind at the moment as well as a mental health ambassador?
So yeah, basically after TEDx, again, all coming from Beehive, it's just kind of gone, whoo. But yeah, after TED, I was lucky enough to become an ambassador for Mind in Coventry and Warwickshire, and that's been wonderful. Especially their autism service as well is very unique because a lot of autism services you have to be, well, either a child or an adult, and a lot of services, if you're an adult, you can't do it because it's a kid's service. If you're a child, you're not old enough to the adult service. So you're left constantly being like, well, where are these services I can actually access because of my age? But it's one of the only services where you can join no matter what your age is. And I think I never had that. So it's really important for me that I stay a part of that in particularly because, yeah, I think that's brilliant because, yeah, there's still this massive kind of assumption that, it's something you grow out of. Only kids have autism. It's not something that adults have.
Far from it.
Hence why there's so many children's services and no adult services, which is just crazy to me because it's just such an archaic way of thinking, in my opinion. But yeah, I love CAS, Community Autism Support Service, because yeah, it doesn't matter what your age is, you can get the help you need. So yeah, I really love supporting that.
No, I can't blame you then. I know of somebody that's due on spoke label soon, who I'm not going to name, who's just become diagnosed with autism at 56. And
Mm.
it took her 10 years to get the diagnosis on it where she lives in the area, which is disgraceful really, to in this country. But anyway, listen, we could sit there moaning all down a rant against governments, can't we, with that? But it's not the podcast for now. Now, you've got a few bits and pieces coming up in support of the book, haven't you, I seem to recall?
Yeah, basically, there is going to be a book tour, which is
Dun,
equally
dun, dun.
nerve-wracking and exciting. Yeah, basically, because my publisher's based in the south, in Dorset. I'm doing a couple of events locally in the Midlands before then, mainly signings, book signings. But then, yeah, the actual in-person launch is going to be in Exeter, which is about 3 hours away from me, 3.5 hours away from me.
That's a fair whack of a journey, that one. Yeah, I know Exeter is,
It
yeah.
is, yeah, it is, especially as I'm agoraphobic as well. It's quite a big ask, but I know that I'll regret not doing it. So we start in Exeter, then, we'll let people know, close to the time where I'm coming, what dates and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be great. Lots of places, meeting lots of people, and then more events locally as well in the spring because we're breaking it up because of my chronic illness. Doing too much in one go is just not manageable. So probably do a week in November doing stuff, have a bit of a break in Christmas, then back in the spring, go back down to Dorset, do that side, and then come back up again, do more stuff in the Midlands, the North. So yeah, exciting. Very exciting.
Brilliant. Now, say, where can people get hold of the book?
They can get hold of the book on my website, which is Inclusive Creatives, or they can go to the Jawbone Collective, my publisher's website. Either, either or.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, social media plugs and to wrap up with then.
Oh,
Where can people get hold of you if they wish to book you, say, for a reading?
put me for a reading, yeah. Instagram's probably I'm probably on there a lot more. So find me on Instagram, try and remember what my name is there. I think it's
Mm.
Charlotte Robin F.
I'll find out. I'll let me pop onto Instagram. Look at this now. This is me getting me on back in Charlotte now because she's forgotten and I have no
Yeah.
idea. So 1 minute, let's have a look.
I know it's got Charlotte in it. That's
Oh, yeah, it's Charlotte Robin F. Okay, people are
Charlotte Robin
wondering.
F.
Okay,
I'm sure you'll put links in the
yeah,
description anyway.
I will. Yeah, and what's your website then? If people want to find you on your
It
website,
is www.inclusivecreatives.co.uk. That is the website.
brilliant. Okay, well, that's all my questions. Unless Charlotte's got something she wants to surprise me with, and I never know knowing Charlotte at the best of times.
We've had enough surprises today.
I
That's
think we have definitely have.
on
So
and off camera.
it's been a pleasure, Charlotte. Okay, I know you're going to keep in touch anyway. I don't need to ask you with this. So, and when book number three's out, because you've already had a go at me off camera saying
I
you.
did, yeah, before we go, I did, because last year when I came on and we just hung up for the Zoom and start filming, and Angie was like, "Oh yeah, when your first poetry book's out, give me a shout, come back on again." And I was like, "What do you mean? How do you know something that I don't? Because I'm not gonna have a poetry book anytime soon." Um, and obviously that was a complete farce. That's just,
Yeah.
you know,
It-
I call Angie
People,
a,
Charlotte calls me my online dad if people are wondering sometimes. She's one of my online daughters. Just to embarrass her.
you're like the oracle because you say these things and then they just happen. It's like, how did you know this is going to happen? So yeah, now you said the third book's going to come. It's going to come at some point. So he's spoken. It's going to
I
happen.
have spoken, definitely so. Well, like I said, you will be seeing Charlotte again in the future. Who knows when? I don't know. But thank you again, my friend.
Thank
And I
you.
don't need to ask you to keep touch because you will anyway. I think I'm stuck with you whether you like it or not, aren't I? So,
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. All right.
so thank you again, Charlotte. Hang around. Obviously, we need a quick chat off mic anyway. But as is the end of the Unspoken Able episode, guys and girls. Yes, as Don Callis over at AWS says, stay safe and stay over. And we will see you all next